Well, buckle up. Here we go. Our first stop, the 1992 Spring Nationals in Columbus, Ohio. First round action, Cold Cobra in the Snakebite Ford on the far side, taking on Wayne Sposanek in Tropical Thunder. And for Wayne Sposanek, it will be stormy sailing right through the Hydra barricades. Little damage to the truck, but a scare for some of the crew guys standing in behind those barricades. So often in his racing career, Wayne Sposanek has been spectacular. Let's take a look now at the replay. It looks like Wayne may have bent something in the four-link suspension. Once the truck goes to the right, Wayne has no control. He would be disqualified for going out of bounds, but very little damage sustained by the truck or the driver. The Yodoc barriers or JoJo blocks did their jobs. These barriers are actually plastic containers filled with water. They're becoming very popular in motorsports. And look how they'll stop a 10,000-pound truck. Imagine how much damage could have been done had Wayne Sposanek hit a concrete wall. And look how close he comes to our camera position. It may be safer in the truck than what it is to work behind one of these cameras. And you thought television was safe. The following year, the Spring Nationals shifted to Lima, Ohio, where Kirk Dabney in Nightmare was about to have one of his own. Now, Dabney is in the far lane, taking on Wildfoot's Andy Brass in the near lane. And watch what happens to Kirk Dabney in the shutdown area. Substantial damage. Look at that 10,000-pound truck on top of the cage. The cage is intact, and look, Kirk Dabney walks away. He is okay. Now look again, Dabney was in trouble midway through the run. But being young and aggressive, he didn't let out of it. Pushing the truck, he goes over on his head, high sides it, and it goes on over. But once again, the roll cage is intact, and Kurt Dabney was uninjured. The switch from the normal crushed cars to these all-dirt ramps did not suit Kirk Dabney. Keep an eye on the left-hand portion of your screen. Something lets go in the front after he lands, and he high-sides immediately. But Army Armstrong was right there to talk to Kirk Dabney as soon as he climbed out and walked away.
Gary, real quick, things are kind of acting down here on the other end. First of all, are you okay?
Yeah, Army, I'm fine.
What caused the truck to bounce like it?
Well, it looks like front steering linkage let go on the impact after the second jump. It's a little early to tell, but that's what the best guess is right now.
Okay, well, I understand the EMTs want to get a look at you, get over there. Thanks a lot for coming over. Man, we're sorry about the bad luck.
Hey, we'll be back, guys. Thank you very much.
Well, in motorsports, that's the attitude to have. Lots of damage to the fiberglass body, but the chassis held up. Now, the only thing more damaging than the initial impact is when they actually turn one of these things right side up. And notice the message on what's left of the rear gate kind of sums it up, doesn't it? Same race next round, Andy Brass and Wildfoot, the new research and development Ford for Bob and Marilyn Chandler. This was the first race Andy appeared in with this truck on the Jamboree circuit. Talk about being aggressive. Watch this great piece of driving. Remember, this is a 10,000-pound truck pulling this wheelie, making so much power. This is the closest thing to a monster truck blowover. Now watch the wheel stand in no man's land. He hits the second ramp with the back rubber. That tosses the truck over on its nose, and he lands on the front grille. Here's Army with Andy.
In the semifinals, you took a run. I've seen a lot. I've never seen anything like that. What went through your mind on that run?
Well, the only thing I could think of right there when she pulled the wheels, I was like, well, if I let out of it, you know, I knew Equalizer was going to run a good time. I had to more or less stay in it. And I knew if we run her up the hill, she was probably going to nose over after the hill. And we just, when she started to come down, we just tried to stay back in it and keep the front wheels pulling and hope she pulled us back down on the ground, and that's what it did.
But all the attention shifts to the fairgrounds after a night of cruising where the ultimate off-road machines prepare to do battle. Army, the victims here at the Missouri State Fairgrounds would not be confined to mud racers. In fact, the one year there was monster truck racing at the Midwest Nationals, rainy conditions would soon postpone the event, but for Kirk Dabney, it would come one race too late. Well, Dabney was taking on Fred Schaefer, and obviously when you're racing barefoot Fred Schaefer, you have to push to the limit, but in this case, he may have pushed just a tad too far. His driving technique was right on when he got in trouble in the shutdown area and actually got that 5-ton truck up on two wheels. He could reach out and grab a handful of grass if he wanted to, but right here, he kept his foot back in the throttle, and he almost saves it, but then it flips back over to the other side. Kirk was uninjured, and as he walked away, Army caught up with him.
First of all, are you okay?
Yeah, Army, I'm fine.
Okay, you high-sided it back in the throttle. It looked like you're going to be able to pull it out, but it just didn't work for you.
I'm relatively new, so we're not really sure what happened. We're going to have to take a look at the replay and see what happened. We're pretty upset that we've turned the truck over, but we'll be back.
Glad you're okay, dude.
Well, as we take a look from this angle, let's see if we can analyze what happened. Squares up on the jump, looks in pretty good shape right here. As he comes down, though, in the shutoff area, the rear bucks up in the air. He gets over on the left side, high-sides it, stays in the throttle, and almost has it saved, but then it pitches back over and rolls to the right. Once again, minimal damage to the truck. The roll cage is intact, and the driver walked away uninjured. But this wasn't the only run that left an impression from the Midwest Nationals. On to the Canfield Fairgrounds, where lane choice can be very critical, and Mark Hall shows us why in qualifying. The Monsters compete on what is actually a pulling track. So consequently, the dirt is elevated. But watch Mark Hall as he gets over the second set of cars in the shutdown area. Off to his right, the track drops off. And it's like a sprint car going over the cushion with only 4 to 7 pounds of air in that right rear. Right there, the right rear drops down, tucks under, and the truck rolls over. As Hall ends up on his lid, there's lots of body damage, but the driver is okay. From this end zone shot, now watch as Mark Hall clears the second set of cars. Watch off to the left as that right rear will actually drive off the edge of the track. And he starts a barrel roll. Now remember, this is a 5-ton truck, 10,000 pounds, barrel rolling like a child's toy. Now, there's a lot of body damage, but the truck was not severely damaged. In fact, Hall got back into the program and even posted a round 1 win. That exemplifies the battling spirit found at the Thunder Drags. Even a typical #1 qualifier like Andy Brass can get in trouble just trying to make the show. You can see the drive shaft off the rear has been dislodged. Now, as we take a look at this replay, we cannot really second guess why Andy crashes, but he does right here chuck the rear drive shaft. And on the second set of cars, tucks that left rear and rolls it over. But in true shake, battle, and roll spirit, the Chandler team had the big blue Ford ready for the competition the next day. Bigfoot was not only ready, but made it all the way to the finals, where Brass on a sloppy track would push his way past Carolina Crusher to the winner's circle. Tough qualifying sessions may be one characteristic. Well, next, a less joyful ride courtesy of Wayne Spozanek in Tropical Thunder. Wayne out of Jupiter, Florida, wanted to show off for the home state folks, but this is not exactly what he had in mind of showing off. Takes out the fence and pretty well destroys Tropical Thunder. Well, there's a look at Wayne in the cockpit. The cockpit is intact. Now, sometimes monster truck racing can be a slugfest. In this case, we'll call it a chain link TKO. Now notice that he is not straight when he hits that second ramp. There's no margin for error here at Florida Sports Park. He comes down hard on the right corner, shears off that right front, and then does a nose stand. If this were ballet class, we'd call this a pirouette. Not a position you want to be in when you're strapped in a 5-ton racing truck. And finally, after the long nose stand, the truck falls over, takes out the fence, but see, the cockpit is intact. Wayne starts to take inventory. He's okay, but not so for the truck. Now, this is where they race the swamp buggies, and right here over the second set of cars is where the sippy hole is. And that is the area that sank Wayne Sposanek. There for a moment, it looked like he had the measure of Bigfoot until he got crossed up in no man's land. The long nose stand, and there goes the outside chain link fence. But as always, Army Armstrong was there to talk to Wayne Sposanek.
What caused it to bounce like that?
I don't really know. I stayed in the throttle. I made good runs in qualifying, never hooked at all. I don't know if it possibly had a broken axle in the air. I don't know.
Well, if you're going to do something like that, it's tough to have it happen, but half of this crowd are your neighbors and everything. I'm glad you're okay. Another time, another day.
Yeah, it's a bad time to wreck the truck.
Well, Wayne's fence-clearing cartwheel was just an example of the thunder found down here in Naples, Florida.